Hey folks, it's Rob Flux here with another Sunday session. And today we've got a super interesting one, which on paper you might not think about it, but I've got my nerd alert going really super hard on this particular one. It's how to landscape in 3D and some of the technologies that are sitting behind this to make things super interesting in both speeding up the process, reducing the costs, and getting a much better outcome. And so we've got a specialist for this to talk you through this. So we've got Brett Ingwersen from LuxeScape Design. So hello, Brett. How are you, mate?
Good, thanks, Rob. Thanks for having me on.
That's okay. And we're going to go through, I guess, all the nerd alert stuff that is how to do a landscape design, the different use cases and the like, I guess, in order to build out whether we're doing a new home, a reno, I guess a townhouse build or whatever. I guess landscaping, people start to think of at the end of the process, but I guess by getting yourselves involved, bringing it much, much further, I guess, to the start of the process and getting more value out of the process.
Excellent.
So, mate, tell us a little about who are LuxeScape Design, and what is it that you guys do that is making my nerd alert go off?
So we saw a gap in the market, which was how do we bring some of the new technologies that's available around information capture, including using drones and the newer technology to speed up the process of getting the design completed from start to finish. So we've tested a few systems over the last few years, and yeah, very confident in the way we are able to develop the product from start to finish and bring the client along for the journey.
Awesome. And we're going to go into how that works from a technology perspective and what's involved and speak to that and that sort of thing a little bit later in the chat. But for now, mate, tell us a little bit about your background and how this actually came about, because you've been in the landscaping space for a good eon or so. Give us a little bit about your journey and then how this concept of LuxeScape Design actually came about.
Well, so I've been in retail, nurseries and garden design and landscaping for probably close to 30 years now. So used to have a lot of people coming in when I had the retail garden centre, just getting ideas on how to put their garden together. Went back and we'd be hand drawing designs and using the old pencil and rubber, and went back and learned how to use CAD design software. But there was always the challenge of if you'd missed information at the site, you'd have to go back and do a remeasure. So early on, I sort of had the idea that there had to be a better way of capturing that data at the source, and that has always been back of mind, even when we were doing the full landscape construction, as to how to make sure that when we start the construction of a garden or a landscape, that the client and our team also were on the same path and knew exactly what the outcome was going to be.
So in concept, that sounds really good. But I guess if we have a look at a traditional design process, you touched on a couple of those elements. Firstly, how does a traditional design work? What are some of the issues and challenges that actually sit around that? You mentioned already missing information, but walk us through a traditional, and then we're going to walk through how yourselves do that, and we'll see a stark difference between the two.
Yeah, so I mean, traditionally, you might have used some of the local government or the state government plans to get your property boundaries accurate. You might take out a laser level, taking contour measurements, changes in elevations. The tape measure is always there, the measuring wheel. So, it's quite a cumbersome process. You can spend quite a few hours making sure that you'd had everything measured on site accurately. And there was the odd time where you'd be drawing in some part of the building and you realise that you'd missed a key measurement or the angle was wrong. So, and even speaking with other designers recently that are using traditional methods, they're still going through the same problems now.
Yeah, and so as a result of that, a traditional design tends to be quite lengthy from a duration perspective, and I guess also quite costly as well. So give us some indications of what a typical price point might be on a traditional method.
It starts usually around about $3,000, but that's just sort of, usually it's a concept, can be sort of up to $10,000 to $15,000 to have a traditional LuxeScape Design done. And that similarly, the outcome is going to be what we are providing as much as the 2D base plan goes. But it's we're providing the 3D in animation as well. So yeah.
Well, I guess that's the huge point of difference, is the fact that you're doing everything three-dimensionally, and whereas everyone else is doing it in two. But so let's talk about, I guess, how does this new measurement work? We're talking about, I guess, now using digital technology to actually take over the initial capture of the site. That's probably the best way to frame that.
Yeah. Yes. So I mean, we use a few different tools. The most important one is we use a drone. Drone is quite accurate with some of the plugins we have to process the data. So we can actually build a very accurate 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional site plan from the images that the drone captures. And that's processed into an actual visual of what the top down and also the elevations of that property look like. There's a couple of other different pieces of equipment we use. A LiDAR camera, which some of the modern iPhones and iPads have, allows you to measure in 3D to capture areas that the drone can't access. So if it's under a heavily treed property, or if there's structures that you can't get the drone underneath, there are other ways that we can fill those gaps as well.
Yeah, so you used a little bit of terminology there, LiDAR. That might not be familiar to a lot of people. So LiDAR is, I guess, using light, I guess, similar to a radar, but uses light to bounce off of objects and come back. And so knowing what the speed of light is and how long it takes to bounce back, they can actually take a measurement using that. And as you rightly touched on, our modern day phones, I guess at least the newer versions of that actually have this built in right off the bat. So if you've got yourself one of your new whiz bang Samsungs or iPhones, then chances are you can do elements of what you're talking about here at least.
Yeah, for sure. And it's quite an easy process too, but it's the capture is one thing, and then it's how do you process and how do you put it all together and make something meaningful out of it as well. So but yeah, certainly technology is constantly evolving, and we're always using the next version and constantly updating our processes and equipment as well.
Yeah. So you take, I guess, the drone photography firstly, and then you infill any missing elements of that, I guess, with your phone. I guess also go and grab a customer brief and that sort of thing to actually understand what it is that they're actually trying to do, and then bring that into your software platforms to then start to, I guess, blend those bits of information together, and I guess allows you to then have a really accurate measuring points for I guess the baseline for your design process.
Yeah, for sure. So once you see everything on screen, you can actually measure off site. You can check elevation changes. You can check contours, volume, all that sort of thing. So the information is really easy to access and check just from the design point of view. And having team that haven't not necessarily been to site, but having someone who's accurately captured what's on site makes it so much easier.
Yeah. So I guess if we put that into human speak, because you've got those digital measurements, you can actually measure, I guess, the distance between two objects, and it's going to be super accurate in doing that. You can measure, I guess, how much cut and fill you're actually going to need on site to know how much soil you need to either take away or put in into the site, and so super accurate from that measurements perspective. That, I guess, the process, if you had to capture that level of detail with the old manual method, because that's a lot of detail. If you had to do it the manual way, how much would that add to that 3K initial site capture?
Oh, so like if you were looking at like if you were to use someone to come out and survey your site, it's sort of 2,500 plus GST to get someone out to do a survey on your property. Or if you're doing it yourself, then you probably allow at least sort of 6 to 8 hours by the time you've taken enough reference points off the property. So it's it's a lot in time and money, especially when you're doing quite a few of them. So and our design team and landscape architects have found that the drone information is as good as what we can access via a surveyor as well. So yeah.
So how much does that cut down the data capture time? So by the time you do your drone deploy and also fill in the gaps with your phone capture, like how long are you on site for?
So we usually got enough to start the bones of a design within 60 to 90 minutes. So we'll capture everything, we'll process it. Can take up to an hour to process in the cloud, but there's no more site visits. All of the data is there and it's all very accurate. So yeah, I've done 5 is the most site consultations I've done in one day. So yeah, it takes a bit of time to upload all that, but by the time you've done 5 designs, usually that would be 5 days, but I've done 5 in one day, and yeah, all of the designs have been completed successfully.
So I guess that's just capturing the raw baseline data. Then you've got to capture the client's brief. So how do you actually capture the client's brief and what it is that they actually want to try and do with the site?
So it's a 2-step process. When we book the appointment with a client, we'll send them out a survey. So that captures base information, just like contact details. It might be styling, uses of the property, any likes or dislikes, special needs, whether that you need disabled access, plant allergies, and then we'll look at things like any styling that the client would like. So we have a couple of portals there, one to upload any plans and also somewhere to upload some, might be Pinterest or Instagram, just some images that the client has captured over the last little while to help us get a feel for the style of the garden.
Yeah, cool. So we've been talking about some of these technologies. Why don't we take a look at, how that, is kind of working. So let's firstly start with, the drone footage to start with. So I'm just going to try and do a screen share here. So this is a project. We're going to walk through the one project from start to finish here. So what were the challenges on this project that you've tried to capture? And in this instance, you haven't captured the whole site by the look of it, but what was the challenge on this site that you had to get around?
So we had a couple of challenges here. It's only a partial capture because it was just a redesign of an existing outdoor area, but top-down view, it looks all very spot on, but right in the center there is this shade sail, which we couldn't get the drone under. It's a bit snug. So we've captured everything else accurately. We've got the swimming pool in, we've got all of the existing deck, we've got the elevation changes. You can see the notation lines on there. This is just where the design team have checked changes in level, checked roof line distances, all the sort of things that, pool dimensions, all that sort of thing. So that gives us an accurate picture on length and also change in height.
Yep. So you mentioned this is 3D. At the moment, we're just looking at a single angle. So just spin it around and give us some feel for how that actually works. So there you go. We can actually go all the way under and in.
Yeah. So as you can see there are a few different level changes here. We've got some steps down there off the deck. The client in this particular instance wanted to extend their seating area, put a pizza oven in, and where that shade sail is, they have an outdoor room that they wanted to build as well. So, but you can see it's quite accurate. You can even sort of get right into measure the deck boards if you wanted to be that particular. But certainly things like the size of the pavers that have been used currently, if we wanted to alter those. And also, as you can see, we can get right in, and those lines there just capture the change in elevation. It gives it distance, slope, and it gives a really good virtual tape measure for our design team.
Yeah, very good. So then you mentioned, I guess there's a little bit of a black spot with that that shade cloth there. So if we kind of look under there, there's a huge black spot in there. So
top down looks good, but yeah. So the other part of what we do is this is using the camera on the phone, the LiDAR camera. So we're able to get in underneath that shade sail, and that shows us the missing detail that we're looking for. So there is a garden that's existing under there, and shows us just the detail and what's finishing up against the fence line. So that helps fill the gaps where we can't actually access the drone camera.
And then what you then do is kind of stitch those through, I guess, two together in your, I guess, your platform at the back end.
Yeah.
And based on that, then you can actually start the design process, knowing, I guess, what your starting point is.
Yeah, for sure. So we have an accurate base plan, which the team creates from the data we've captured. We'll draw that up. We'll have that shared with the client. So we'll have another Zoom meeting with the client. We can share all this information on screen, and we can go through and just clarify exactly what detail they needed, any changes, plant selections, changes in hard surfaces. And it's a really valuable tool to see that, and the client can actually see the top-down view as well.
Yeah, very good. So I guess, have you got some examples of, I guess, the design at the end of this? So I think you've got both a 2D and also a 3D walkthrough of the finished product, yes?
Yeah, so this is a good example of where we start out, and I'll just share this one with you. So this is the top down.
So this is clearly the 2D version, just for everyone's reference.
Yeah. So and also part of what we do is we do provide some PDFs, so you get an idea on what the finished product's going to look like in some actual renders. But you can see there we've got the new seating area, fire pit, pizza oven, and there is a new outdoor room that's drawn in on here as well. And as we just scroll down here, you can get a bit of a feel for some of the design concepts. So the pizza oven, some of the edging, the planting style, dimensions, and then as you get a bit further down, you can see full detail planting plan. Outdoor room is drawn in as well, and plant quantities, spacings, all that sort of thing is included in that plan as well.
Yeah, very good. So, and I think you've got a 3D walkthrough now. I'll pre-warn people in advance that the way that we're actually recording this, there's going to be a little bit of a lag on this. So in real time, this would be a lot more fluid. But if we have a look at, I guess, that walkthrough side of things, I might just turn off your capture. So there's clearly no sound on this, I guess, for our purposes. There is in real life, but you're able to do that complete walkthrough from start to finish, so people can actually genuinely conceptually understand exactly what it is they're actually getting and buying into.
Yeah. I mean, it does paint a very good picture, and if by the time we've got to this point, the client is very set on what they want to do, and this is just a clarification and just, I suppose, the final understanding of the design.
Yeah, just because that video is kind of buffering, it has kind of made you sound a little bit dodgy. So, and I think you've got another video that you wanted to walk through there as well. What was the last one?
Yeah, so this is just part of the video brief, and it explains how we conduct our site information capture. So we have the drone, we have the camera, the LiDAR camera. We also do a 360 video as well. So
this is a camera on a stick that captures three-dimensionally, what's in front of you, what's behind you, that sort of thing, as you're walking through the client brief.
Yeah.
So you can spin that around anywhere that you like.
Yep.
So that's you controlling it. That's not an animation. That's you controlling that with your mouse.
Yep. So we just grab the screen. We can zoom in or out. It's really handy to go back and reference with if a client's talking about a particular part of the garden, they might be pointing somewhere. You can scroll around and have a look at it and see what they're referring to. And it's we get these transcribed as well, so we get a really accurate capture of the content from the client perspective.
Very good. So all of that, mate, and at a fraction of the timeline and a fraction of the cost of a traditional design. So give us some insights into, I guess, the timeline from start to finish, and some price points that we touched on. I guess starting at 3K for a normal design. So
Yep.
where does it start for you guys, and what's the timelines?
So we can complete the design, and again, it comes down to the client feedback loop. So if some clients prefer to sit on their design drafts, the initial concept that we provide for them for a week or two. But if we have someone who's really motivated, we can complete the design in 5 to 7 working days. And that includes pretty much everything that we've seen here on screen as far as the master plan and the animation goes.
Yeah, very good.
Pricing starts at $12.95 if your property is under 600 square meters. So under $1,300 to have your up to 600 square meter property. If you're going from 6 to 1,200 square meters, we're looking at $16.95, and from 1,200 to 2,000 we do for $21.95. So that includes the 2D, the renders, and the animation as well.
Yeah. So those 2D plans are something that you would typically give to your town planner to, I guess, be lodging for approvals for council and things like that as part of your bigger designs, so your bigger application, I should say. And the 3D side of things is to make sure that you know what it is that you're actually getting and signing up to, and comfortable with that. So, mate, quite I guess an interesting use of technology to actually do that. What are some of the use cases that you are seeing out there as to when somebody would want to engage in a service like this?
So we have a variety of clients. So we'll have people that are doing new build, or people have just completed. As you can see, this client on screen, it's a new house, and they're looking to build out. We do knockdown rebuilds, so especially in the inner city areas. As you guys are probably well aware, there's not a lot of spare land unless you're buying a house, knocking it down and restarting. So we'll work with all of those. We can make sure that you guys have plans. We've worked with clients, they're able to submit plans to council if they're looking for approvals. We can do swimming pool design as well. So if you're looking to make sure that your design is going to be compliant, we can help in that aspect as well. But the whole thing is that it gives anyone from council to someone quoting the landscape construction an accurate representation of what's going to be on site.
Very good. So now I guess you're rolling, I guess, the platform out across the country. So where are you currently at the moment, and what are your growth plans for where you're taking this?
So we're currently in Victoria, mainly Gippsland and Melbourne, and we're also in Sydney. We've done projects down in Newcastle, quite a few in Sydney, and we will be rolling out in Queensland probably in about 6 to 8 weeks. Looking to start our first projects up there very shortly.
Yeah, very good. So I guess predominantly across the eastern seaboard. By the time people watch this or watch the replay, chances are you already are there.
Yeah.
Mate, that's a super interesting way of actually using technology to your advantage, and especially using multiple technologies to combine together to fill in the gaps. Are there still missing gaps sometimes? And if there are, what other technologies could you actually use to kind of supplement what it is that you're already capturing?
So there's a few things we're experimenting with as far as AI and augmented reality goes. There is certainly a lot of data out there, but it's a matter of being able to accurately use it as well. but we work with a few different companies for accurate plans. Sometimes we have a plan where the property line is blurred because of no fence being installed between neighbours. So yeah, there is quite a lot of technology out there, and it's I do have a co-founder as a business futurist, and he is constantly looking for the next way of upgrading how we work.
Very good, mate. Super interesting, I guess, implementation. So so a lot of our guys do all sorts of things. So we have people who do renovations, we have people who do knockdown rebuilds, like you said, full townhouse designs and that sort of thing. So they can engage in your services right up front. And if they're doing a new townhouse design, for example,
Yep.
How do you actually take what you've captured live on site and then, I guess, incorporate that into an actual building set of plans?
So we can model off the plans. We can use existing building plans. Our team are quite skilled in converting construction drawings to 3D models. So that's probably a very easy way of making sure that we can accelerate the design process. Accurate maps from, if there is already site surveys done, that speeds the process up, but the actual information we capture is 99.9 times out of 100 accurate enough for us to complete the whole design.
Yep, very good. So what happens if they've already got things like survey plans and that sort of thing? Is that something that you can use to supplement what it is that you've got, or do you not need those extra that extra layer of detail?
Quite often we use those to verify. So if there is, existing, especially for knockdown rebuilds, there's quite often elevation changes from the original survey. So we can use them if we're looking at finished floor levels on the new structure, but there's also a lot of changes in what's sitting around the site as well. So always good to have a site visit done. We are used to working where we don't have, for example, a property like this, new subdivision, nothing around it. So it's pretty much a clean slate. They're quite easy to work with, and we'll still visit the site because there's quite often there's information or structures or things to consider in the surrounding areas that we need to take into account.
Very good. And for anyone watching this who might not be, I guess, where you're geographically located at the moment, is there anything that they can do to kind of capture that data for you and hand that to you in some way, shape, or form? Or is that really, you really need to have some of the technologies you've got on board, your drones and that sort of stuff?
Look, you could subcontract someone else to do the drone scan, but they'll probably charge you, quite a few $100s just for that, and then we still would need to go through the design process. But we hope to very shortly be able to access most of the East Coast, and then after that is built out, then we'll head west.
Yeah, very good, mate. It's been super interesting, I guess, seeing the concept, I guess from concept through to completion, and using technology in a very different way. The reason why I'm nerding out is I spent 20 odd years in IT myself, mate. And so when people are using technology well, it's always it's always good to see, I guess, a giant leap in the progression of things. So I can see this as, I guess, a way of the future for landscaping design. So Brett, it's been fantastic to chat to you, mate. If anyone wants to reach out to Brett, engage with Lux Design, you can click on the link below, folks, and I'm sure he and his team will be more than happy to help you out. In the meantime, for anyone else out there, I guess we run these Sunday sessions most Sundays of the year at 5 p.m. Eastern Seaboard. That will change subject to time zones, etc., and daylight savings. And we also run our networking events, our meetups all the way around the country: Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, and Adelaide. So if you want to engage with us, make sure you join us at one of our upcoming meetups. Till then, mate, it's been great to chat. So thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, Rob.
See you, Brett.
Good on you, mate.